Good morning and welcome to our very first episode of She's a Force of Nature, where we talk about women at DNR with careers at the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. I'm Alicia. Thanks for joining us today. And I'm so excited for this webinar series to kick off. We're going to be doing one of these each Wednesday at 10 a.m. throughout the month of August. And today I am joined by my friends. We have Brittany Reed, and Brittany is a part of our women's network here at the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And then I have Mia and Alicia, who are with our Division of Water Resources, and you're going to hear from them in just a second. I'm going to let Brittany speak briefly about the women's network at DNR, but quickly before I pass it off to her, I just want to point out the Q&A box. If you have any questions throughout the episode today, please utilize your Q&A, and I will ask Mia or Alicia the questions that you have. So we would love to hear from you, or if you just want to say hello, that's fine too. So with that being said, Brittany, I will pass it off to you, and then we'll send it to Mia.
Great. Yeah, so I'm, as Alyssa said, my name is Brittany Reed. I am a paralegal at ODNR, but I'm also a member of the Natural Resources Women's Network. And so what that is a group of women at ODNR who have come together to provide professional development and networking opportunities for all of the women employees at ODNR. But we also have a branch of our committee who does outreach. So we worked with Alyssa to put together this She's a Force of Nature program, where we're highlighting all of the different career options, varied awesome career options at ODNR that women employees fill. So we'll be highlighting some of our ladies from Water Resources today, but also later this month we'll be highlighting some of our other divisions as well.
Yeah, coming up we have ladies in our Division of Wildlife and Parks and all sorts of awesome different career fields. I do want to just let you know that today we will be doing an interview style. So I'll be asking some questions to our presenters and they'll be answering. And one reason that I forgot to mention why we did this is we've heard a lot from Girl Scouts around the state that have been interested in exploring careers at the Ohio Department of Natural Resources or in the outdoor industry. And so we thought this would be a great way to highlight those. And most recently, I have a college student that I've been working with this summer, Lauren, and I asked her what she's found most surprising about her time at DNR. And she said the amount of women that work at ODNR, and she didn't realize that before. So we just want to make it more visible and raise awareness that women out there can have a successful career in the natural resources industry. So with that being said, I'm going to send Mia full screen and get on with our first question, which is, Mia, can you just tell us what you do at work? What is your job?
Yeah, hi. Actually, I am the program manager for the dam safety program within the Division of Water. So basically what our program does is we regulate about 1,400 dams across the state. And so I'm going to just share my screen real quick. And so we can, let's see if that'll, if I can get this to work there. Oh, let me get that in slideshow mode there. Can you see that okay? So I wanted just to quickly go over what kind of dams do we have in Ohio? So we have all sorts of dams. And so basically a dam is any kind of artificial barrier that holds back water. So this is a picture here of Hoover Dam here in Columbus. It's city of Columbus. But we also have concrete dams. We don't have very many of these. This is Lakeview Cemetery Flood Control Dam up near Cleveland. This one is Miami Conservancy District over near Dayton. They have some very large flood control structures over there. This one is also another City of Columbus reservoir, but it's actually one of the largest drinking water reservoirs. It is the largest drinking water reservoir in the state, but it's a pump storage facility. So there's earthen embankment all the way around, and then they pump water into that to store water for drinking supply once for drought times and things like that. This one is a low head or a channel dam or run of the river dam. So these are just normally concrete dams that are within the river channel. This is a picture of an industrial waste pond. We have a lot of for the fly ash or bottom ash. It's a byproduct of electrical generation. So we do have some of those. But the most common dam that we have in Ohio is an earthen dam. So as you can see down there in the circle, that's the dam, and it's creating the pool. So they can be used for recreation, flood control, sediment control. But this is kind of a typical cross section of a dam. So in this scenario, you have the earthen embankment, and then a concrete chute kind of down the middle of that. And so the different components. But we also have, here's another kind of cross section that shows a pipe spillway going through the dam. But our program, our main core purpose is to protect human life, health, and property from dam failure. So what are the things that we do to do that? Is that we do periodic inspections. So, and actually, I'm going to stop sharing the screen there. So we do periodic inspections of those 1,400 dams that we regulate. And so we do those inspections once every 5 years. And then we also, so with our inspections, we try to educate dam owners on how to maintain their dams properly. We provide them a report of requirements that they need to fulfill and make sure that they do all those things to improve the safety of their dam. Then we also, like if someone wants to build a new dam, a lot of the dam building here in Ohio recently has been more up-ground reservoirs. Also, there's been some additional construction in the oil and gas industry where they need water supply. So we've issued construction permits, so they need to submit things to us for review and approval. And then we also follow through during construction to make sure that the dams are being constructed in accordance with the approved plans. And then we also have the majority of the dams in the state were built back in the 60s or even earlier. And so they're all starting to show their age. And so we have actually kind of seen an increase in repairing existing dams. And so there is an approval process that needs to happen as far as submitting plans to our office for review. We also have an enforcement process that we use for non-compliant dam owners, that if the dam is in very poor condition, that we can take enforcement action on them. We also respond to emergencies. So if there's anything going on with the dam that might lead to a dam failure, we assist dam owners and first responders to make sure that steps are taken to that they won't be to try to prevent a dam failure. And so then we also do a lot of education outreach for owners and, like I said, emergency professionals. I did want to just maybe change my background effect so that you guys can see. I had kind of an inundation map here So this is some mapping that we do with the emergency, like our county emergency management folks, so that they have a document that says, who to contact during an emergency. If the dam were to fail, these are the people that would potentially be impacted, and who do first responders, excuse me, need to get out of harm's way, so they have an idea of who to evacuate. So this one is Hoover Dam here in Columbus again. And so that I think covers everything, or most of everything that we do.
So Mia, are you in an office, or are you in the field, or maybe a mixture of both?
Yes, definitely a mixture of both. We are working actually from home at the moment, but we have kind of a spring and fall inspection schedule that we go out and do inspections, and we are currently in our finishing up our spring inspection schedule now. So we're probably out at least once a week or more. And also during the summer months is usually also when we have a heavy construction, is usually when the majority of the construction is going on. So we also make site visits for construction activities.
Awesome. So next question, what influenced your career choice? Anything like maybe family, school, personal interests? Did any of those come into play?
Yeah, excuse me. My dad actually is a carpenter. And so growing up, I spent a lot of time helping him on construction projects around the house, or family that asked him for help and things like that. So that kind of got me interested in building things. So I was pretty good at math and science, so I thought civil engineering might be a good career choice for me. We had a family friend who had gone to school at the University of Cincinnati. And so he highly recommended that I apply there because they have a mandatory co-op program with their engineering program. And so basically what that means is it's a little bit longer program. So it's a 5-year program, but by the time you're done, you have a 4-year degree, your bachelor's of science degree, plus 2 years of experience. And so my experience while I was at UC was I first started with Turner Construction Company and did several quarters of co-op experience with them. And the thing that told me was what I did not want to do. And so I realized at that point that I did not really want to do like building construction. I was much more interested. The last co-op session with Turner, I was involved. It was a hospital remodel, or like an addition, and there was all this excavation work and foundation work, and I found it really fascinating. And so that kind of geared me more towards the part of civil engineering that deals with soils, which is called geotechnical engineering. And so then my last couple of co-op sessions, I actually co-op with Dames and Moore, which was kind of, was an environmental, kind of an environmental geotechnical engineering firm that did like landfill work and like environmental cleanup and things like that. And so I did really like the soils aspect of that job, but that co-op experience was good because it also made me realize that I didn't necessarily want to go into the consulting world. And so at that point, I decided maybe I'm not quite ready to join the workforce. And so I actually went to graduate school down at Virginia Tech in geotechnical engineering. And so once I finished, actually when I was down there, I became good friends with a lady who was getting her PhD down there, but she was actually from Columbus. And she had been living in Columbus before going back to school to get her PhD. And she had actually worked with the dam safety program while she was a consultant in Columbus. And so when there was an entry-level engineer position that opened up when I was getting ready to finish graduate school, and she was the one who encouraged me to apply for the DNR position. And so, like I said, it was an entry-level position, and so I basically have worked my way up through the ranks in the dam safety program. I've been with the program 22 years now. I've been able to get like my professional engineering license. And so that's kind of my career trajectory. I think I was fortunate to have been given a lot of good advice over the years.
And is there a minimum requirement, educational requirement for your job?
Well, my specific job, as far as being in the dam safety program, I'm in the natural resource engineer, and you do need to have a 4-year engineering degree. A master's degree, you know, is just bonus, but and I think it has helped me move up in the ranks a little faster, maybe, than other people. Or other engineers, and also with that experience, I had specific classes and things like that that were geared towards designing of dams. So that has been very helpful for me.
Gotcha. So how do you affect or impact the lives of Ohioans in your daily job?
Well, dam safety is important to both the dam owner and the people downstream of dams. So like I said earlier, we do spend a lot of time educating dam owners. So how to operate their dams, how to maintain them, inspect them. So during our inspection process, we like for them to join us for the inspections, so that we can go over everything that we're seeing or issues with the dam. And so, but then we also want to make sure that they fully understand what their responsibilities are and what their liabilities are as a dam owner, because by impounding that water, they're creating a hazard that wouldn't necessarily be there if it wasn't for the dam. And so they need to understand they need to do everything they can to make sure that the dam stays safe. And then we also work with a lot of consulting engineers when we do our plan review or for repairs and construction of new dams. And so we do a lot of interacting to make sure that the consultants are aware of what good standard of practice for dam design and is, and to make sure that they are up to speed with all the dam safety standards, both that are spelled out in the Ohio Revised Code, and then also just national standards that's state of art or state of practice for dam design. But we also work with county emergency management directors and first responders to also educate them as far as what dams are in their county, what hazards that they pose on the people within their community, and then provide, like I said, the emergency action plans to them, because we review them with the dam owner and approve them, and then make sure that the county emergency management agency has those, so that if there is an emergency, everybody can be on the same page about how to respond. And then the last people that we actually affect probably don't even know that we are assisting them or helping them, and that is the people downstream. because a lot of times people don't realize that they live downstream of a dam, but we are protecting them from dam failures. So.
Got it. Okay, so what motivates you?
Well, I think the work that we do is really important. Safeguarding the people of Ohio, that is something that I really am passionate about. Plus, the people that I work with are really great, and they all believe what we do is important. And so we have a small staff. We currently have 11 people in the dam safety program. So there's 9 engineers. We have 1 construction specialist that assists with doing field work during construction. And then we also have 1 planner that is our emergency action plan coordinator. So she does a lot of the training with our EMA folks. So that's what motivates me.
Awesome. 2 more questions, and then we're going to go to Alicia. So what advice do you have for others that might be looking to pursue a career like yours?
I would definitely, the advice about getting experience. So like the co-op program through UC, like an internship program. So like just to get some work experience, be it like a paid job or volunteering, because then you can really figure out what things you like, but also what things you don't like. So you can make sure that you can kind of steer your career to what your passions are and what you really like to do versus what you don't like to do. So that's been very helpful for me.
Okay. And what do you know now that you wish you knew then? Then being, I guess, when you were entering the career, maybe just finishing up college.
Yeah. Well, when I first started at DNR, like I said, I was entry-level engineer. And at the time, I thought to myself, like, because we had a lot of great staff then. And I was just like, well, these people, are going to be here for a long time. There's no way I'll really be able to move up and move up the line. But actually, here 20 years in, and all those people, like I'm kind of the senior staff now, which is, I never thought that I would be in a management position. I always thought that I would be doing more of the technical review and things like that. And actually, I have been in the management position for almost 5 years now, and I really have enjoyed doing that work. But that was something that I didn't think would be possible when I first started. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mia. I do want to just mention before we go over to Alicia that Lauren had wrote in with a question: what is the best way to stay updated on ODNR job listings? She said she's always been incredibly interested in pursuing a career at ODNR, but feels like she misses some job openings. And so she wants to know the correct place to look for them. So if anybody else watching is wondering the same thing, I did publish that question in the Q&A, and I included the link to the careers.ohio.gov website. And you can set up a profile there that allows you to actually select some alerts or select some criteria that when new jobs are posted that meet that criteria, you will be alerted. So just wanted to let everyone know that and make sure they saw it. And Mia, Alicia, are you ready? All right. Hello. So back to the first question. What do you do at work?
Well, I am the program manager for the floodplain management program, which is in our Division of Water Resources. And so basically what that entails is I oversee a program throughout the entire state of Ohio that helps communities and citizens prepare for and deal with flooding. So I also work with the federal government who administers this program across the nation. So I'm working between the citizens in Ohio and the communities in Ohio, as well as the federal government. So we do a lot of balancing of priorities and coordination. And so flooding is a natural process that only becomes a problem when we put communities, buildings, people, and development in its way. And so we have new perspectives on flooding today. We know it's a natural process, but we already have a built environment. So we're sometimes now dealing with the effects of that built environment, and we have to come up with strategies and ways to best move forward. So in my daily job, I work a lot with community governments to make sure their new buildings and new development is built in a safer way or in a safer place, so they aren't as at risk to flooding, and so their community becomes more sustainable. So we use engineering information to create maps. Now, ODNR doesn't create the maps, but we work with consultants and engineers and communities and the federal government, all in coordination to create these maps that depict flood risk in communities throughout the entire state. And if anybody wanted to look at those maps, they're actually available online, and you can look at those to see where they project the 100-year flood to be, and that's just a national standard that they have. But communities adopt regulations based on these maps and administer permitting and guide development based on the data in these maps. So I work with a lot of men and women in this field that have science backgrounds that produce, data that goes into these maps that help run communities and make their development safer, that interact with citizens to make sure that they know how to protect themselves with flood insurance. And so we have a lot of different aspects to our job at DNR, and it's never the same any day. It's always changing, and it keeps me engaged. And even though I've been in the program for 21 years, I still learn something new every day, and that really keeps me interested. Sometimes I feel, will I ever learn everything? And the answer is no, but I know where to look things up, and I know who to ask things of, and we do our best to help the citizens of Ohio prepare and deal with flooding. And so we have a lot of different things that we do, and it's not just the science behind flooding, and but it's a very varied position, and it keeps me very active and engaged. So it can change from day to day, and I never know exactly how it's going to change. So we have a staff of 3 people that deals with the entire state of Ohio, and we're always working to help our communities.
Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. That is awesome. So what influenced your career choice? And I'll ask it the same way that I asked Mia. Did family or school or personal interests, anything of that sort, come into play?
Absolutely. My mom was a high school science teacher, and so I was exposed to biology and ecology and anatomy and environmental sciences very early on. But my favorite science was always environmental science. I was just very interested in it. And I grew up on a farm, so I was used to being outside, and I loved playing in the creeks and being around wildlife and catching fish. And I just enjoyed being outside. And I think maybe that's why I was so interested in environmental science, but it was just an interest of mine for a long time, and I had never planned on pursuing it for a career. And then, as I went through high school and had entered college, I had actually planned on pursuing a career in journalism, but I had really figured out that just didn't feel like it was the right path for me any longer. So I was in college and I was trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do with myself. And, if I'm investing all this time and money into an education, I need to make it worthwhile. And so, I started thinking about what really interested me, what coursework could I take, and what fields of work that there would be in the long term that would be available to me based on my educational experience. What is their kind of jobs are going to be needed long term in the future. And what would I want to spend my days doing, every day for a very long period of time. So I looked at a bunch of different educational programs at Ohio State where I went to school, and I decided to sign up for some environmental science classes and to see if it felt like a good fit. And I found that I loved my classes. So I just started becoming more involved, and I found ways to volunteer, and I loved that. So I volunteered in my field. And then I thought, I should really expose myself to the actual day-to-day work of what it means to work in the field of environmental science. So I applied for numerous internships, and I was hired to work for the Ohio EPA, the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. And during my internship, I worked really hard and I asked a lot of questions, and I listened to instructions. I focused on doing really good work. I didn't complain about being assigned the work to do that nobody else wanted to do because, hey, I was an intern, and I felt pretty lucky to have that opportunity anyway. And my bosses found out that they could trust me with more and more responsibility. So they started providing me with a more and more wide range of work. And I learned so much during that time. And so by doing a good job, they would reward me with giving me some cool assignments too, and because I found a way to make myself very useful there, they allowed me to stay until I graduated. So I was able to work at EPA for 2 full years, not just summer internships, but I worked there for, basically 24 months. And they gave me a lot of responsibility and a lot of work to do, and I got a great education while I was there. So it was one of the best experiences I can ever say that I've had. And it really confirmed for me, like Mia, that working in the public sector for the government was what I wanted to do. And it gave me a significant amount of knowledge that hardly any of the college graduates recent college graduates had. And it provided me with a lot of great references and, information that I could use during my interviews. So that's my background of how I came to be here. And while I was at Ohio State, I didn't just focus on one aspect of water. I focused on not just water quality, but water quantity. And when I had an opportunity to apply for ODNR's floodplain management program, those courses came in very handy because I understood hydrology and hydraulics, and that made me a strong candidate for the job. And so 21 years later, I'm still here. So, and it's been a great experience.
And we have a question from Cassie that said, you mentioned environmental science. Is that a good degree to have in order to get a job in your field?
Absolutely. I think because most universities that offer an environmental science degree, they seem to allow you to specialize that a bit more. So my emphasis was in water, but you could do water, air, land, waste management, etc. So environmental science was a really great undergrad to get. And I know a lot of people want to pursue a graduate degree to kind of focus their area of interest a bit more, and that's great too. But I think environmental science was a great way for me to start out. And for me, I wanted to get out into the workforce immediately after school. Grad school was not something that, I wanted to do at the time right when I graduated. And so I found that I really enjoyed working, and so I stayed with it. And I haven't found that I needed a graduate degree because I've had so much on the job learning. Today's job market is a little bit different than 21 years ago, so I'm not discouraging graduate degrees at all. I think that environmental science is a great way to start out and figure out what aspects that you may want to emphasize in your career, and then you can maybe pursue something more specific through a graduate degree or a program of that nature. And so there's a lot of options that are available out there today, and I definitely think you should, you know, explore those and see what's a good fit for you.
Awesome. And I just want to make sure, Alicia, did you want to share a PowerPoint, or are you okay?
Yes, I have that coming up.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. So, next question, how do you impact or affect the lives of Ohioans?
Well, we work to help Ohioans know how to plan and recover from floods and ensure that communities follow their floodplain management laws. So that builds a more safer and sustainable community for the long term. And safety is a very important thing. Flood safety is very important. And a lot of people forget about floods after they go away. If it's not imminent or going to happen right away, it's something they may not think about. But people like me think about floods all day, every day. And so we want to make sure that your communities are doing the groundwork to make sure you're safer, not just today, but tomorrow and in the long term. And so, you know, I perform a lot of education and outreach to spread awareness about flooding, about what citizens and communities can do to protect themselves, because many people don't realize they're at risk to flooding. And so, and because of that, they don't realize they're at risk. You know, I'd like to show you now some photos that I obtained from online just to show what the impacts of flooding can be. Now, these are some great photos that I found from various news outlets to show the ways that floods affect different communities. I did not take these photos, but I definitely encourage you to go online if you have an interest in learning more about this, to go online and browse the different ways that, you know, these events, this natural event affects communities. And so because the news media is out there and they're on the ground, they oftentimes are, you know, access and have a great opportunity to take photos that I don't always get to. So I'm going to show you some flood photos. So right now, here's a picture of a flood map that I mentioned before.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay, let me try that. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We're getting familiar with the technology.
There we go.
Great, thanks, Alyssa.
Yes,
this is a picture
in just a couple seconds for the viewers. Sorry, it's just lagging. Okay.
Okay, thank you. This is a picture of a flood map. That it's just one portion of one community, so you can see how we use engineering, and sometimes we use computer mapping known as geographic information systems to draw maps so people know that what their flood risk is. So if they're buying a home, or if they're thinking about moving, or if they want to know how to protect themselves, they can look and get an idea of what the flood risk is in their community. So you can see this blue shaded area. This is the 100-year floodplain, and that is a flood that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. A lot of people think, oh, well, if a flood happens today, it's not going to happen for another 100 years. And that's actually not the case. What it means is a flood has of that magnitude has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. This floodway area, you can see it has the Ohio River and then land outside the Ohio River that is included in that that striped area, that crosshatched area, and that's known as a floodway, and that's a high velocity flow area. It's where the most debris and projectiles are going to be, and it's the highest risk area of the floodplain. And so, you know, we want people to know where that area is so that they can plan accordingly and they can stay out of harm's way. So here, our next slide is just a picture of widespread flooding and how it can affect a community. You can see that in this picture, we have not only open areas, but we have businesses and homes and access that are affected by flooding. So these people will have a hard time getting in and out of their homes or accessing their businesses because you shouldn't be driving through flooded waters, and yet they might have damage to their homes too. So this takes a while to recede, and so we want to help communities prepare for these type of scenarios.
Hey, Alicia, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
So how common is, you mentioned geographic information systems, how often is GIS used in the field? And I was at a career fair last year, and I remember a couple students coming up to me and, you know, saying, oh, I love ODNR, and they think of our parks or forests, and they said, you know, I love ODNR, but, you know, I'm an engineering student, or I'm GIS, so you probably don't have anything for me, or I'm IT, you probably don't have anything for me. So I think that, you know, since you mentioned GIS, can you just touch on like how much is that used in your field?
It is used all the time in our field. It is used every day and to varying degrees. So some people just, you know, use the maps as they're produced. Some people produce the data. There are surveyors involved. There are people that create LiDAR, which means they fly over the land to get elevation data, and that data is used in creating GIS maps. There are people who do just focus on GIS, and they create maps, and they utilize data from engineers and other types of professionals to generate the maps that we base decisions on every day. And so it helps people understand their risk. It helps people, it helps communities plan their emergency services. So if you know that your community is flood prone, you know, you need to be able to have your emergency services access all areas of your community during an event. And if your community is split in half by flooding, you need to plan alternative routes. There's all types of ways we utilize GIS for floodplain management. And, you know, you can create maps, you can create data. It's used every day, and it's not just engineers and, you know, staff like me. There, you know, floodplain management encompasses a wide range of people, whether it's policy people, whether it's people who communicate and create publications, whether it's people who perform surveying. You know, there's so many different types of professionals involved in this field that it's just it's far ranging, and there is really you know, there are roles to fit almost any type of interest, you know, so it's I feel like the science field is growing, and especially, you know, things like GIS, the digital mapping. You may not be someone who wants to be in the field, but you may love maps. Or you may love working with data, and that's a great way to get involved, and we rely on that information and people who have that knowledge very heavily. So
Thank you.
Oh, sure, of course. Great question. Another picture I have is our flooded homes. You can see that, you know, here is a depiction of, you know, how flooding can impact someone's home. And so 1 inch of water into a home can cause $25,000 worth of damage. So that's just 1 inch of water in a home. So if you get much more water in a home, it can cause a significant amount of damage, and it's very difficult for homeowners to recover from that. They can lose so many personal items, and so we want to help property owners and communities know how to protect themselves. One thing that we commonly see a lot of is basement flooding. People use their basements a lot, and the first floor of their house may not get flooded, but the basement, where they lose their washing machine and hot water heater, all the elements that are critical to the functioning of their house can be damaged, and they can lose those, and it can be very expensive to repair. You can see when people, their personal items are damaged, you know, you can't save a couch, or you can't save drywall, or you shouldn't be saving those clothes that get wet from flooding, those, you know, or those carpets, you know, that has a lot of bacteria and mold. And so, you know, not everything can be cleaned after a flood. And so a lot of things are just lost. And, you know, a lot of people lose items that are very special to them or personal to them. And, you know, it's a hardship. It truly is. And we want to help communities know best how to prepare for these types of events. You can see here we have businesses, communities, Main Street, and businesses that are, you know, impacted by flooding, and they're all closed. And while businesses are closed, not only they're getting damage here, but they can't make any money to support themselves and their families. And so, you know, there's a loss of revenue here. And so it's very important to, you know, keep flood protection in mind. You can see here more businesses that, you know, can't be accessed by people who would normally use them, and they're losing their revenue. And that's a very big hardship for them in the long term. And even places like the Ohio State University can be affected by flooding. You can see right here that they have put up a flood wall to protect their building from flooding. So even though that they had created lots of space between the building and the river, they still had to go the extra mile by putting up temporary flood protection to keep flood waters from getting into that building. So that's just an image to show that lots of, not just small communities or businesses are impacted by floods, but large institutions like, you know, universities can be impacted as well. And we also see, you know, flood rescues where our emergency services personnel have to go out and help people, you know, bring them to safety. So, you know, we need to make sure that we keep our emergency personnel's safety in mind, and we also have to, you know, help those people who are affected by flooding, and we want to bring them to safety. So, you know, floodplain management is a very, very wide-ranging field that has a lot of different roles in there. And you can see here roadway and access closures. You know, it's really hard to get around sometimes when your roads are closed or when your roads are damaged. So, you know, this is a very big, a lot of damage that has been sustained by flooding. You can see that the road has washed out. So this not only redirects traffic for a very long time while, you know, our Department of Transportation can build this back, but it also costs our taxpayers a lot of money to go back and rebuild this. And so it impacts, you know, even though your home might not be flooded, you may have to find a new way to get to the grocery store or to visit your family or to get to school. And so things like this really do impact communities. It impacts emergency response times. So if you needed emergency services, they may not be able to go the most direct route. They might have to find a roundabout way, and that impacts their ability to help people. So here I'm going to show you an image of a development that's older and was not flood protected. You can see that this park here, this amusement park here, has water. Let me go back. Has water in it, but this development back here is newer and it was elevated, it was raised up. So we see that the floodwaters go around it instead of in it. So we can see the impacts of, you know, protecting development against flooding. And because they raised that development up here in the back, they did not have to recover from flooding the way the business here in the front of the picture did. You can see here, this is an illustration of a home right here that was not elevated, and so they have a lot of water in their first floor. But these four homes here in the front of the picture have been elevated, so it looks like they have their garage on the lower level. So they only store just some materials and they can park their car there. But right now, all their living items, all their personal effects have been elevated to a higher level, and they're safer. So these people in these homes will be able to recover faster from a flood than someone whose home is lower and the flood waters get very high into their actual living level. So those are the flood photos that I had to share just to illustrate how floods can impact communities and why what we do is so important.
Sorry, I was on mute again.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so this might play into what you just showed us, but what motivates you?
Well, I have seen firsthand how terribly flooding can affect people's lives, their homes and businesses. When I was younger, my hometown experienced a very significant flood that killed many people in the area. It damaged many homes and businesses. It washed away many homes and barns. And so although my home was not impacted, I saw how that event affected people's lives and it changed our community. And so I always remembered that. And when the opportunity came to apply, came available with ODNR's floodplain program, I thought, I understand this in a way that, would help make me or enable me to really communicate honestly and be engaged on this topic and know how important it is. And so I really want to help people or communities and people plan and recover from floods. And, I've seen how, I have the ability to help communities build safer and create more sustainable places to live. And I also want to help communities navigate, a complex federal program so that they know what their options are and, they can make informed decisions. So, I just have, a lot of, as Mia said, passion for the topic and the issue, and just feel it's very important to our communities and for our state.
You gave me chills with the first part of your story there, Alicia. So what advice do you have for others?
Well, basically, it's important to get as much experience as you can in your field during college, I think. I think this is really going to help you know for sure what you want to do. Don't wait for opportunities to come to you. You have to go out and pursue them yourself. And make as many connections as you can, because you can learn so much from other people, or other people may know of opportunities and they can share those with you. You may not be aware of them, but they may be able to connect you with other opportunities. And that is honestly how a lot of people find their jobs, is through connections. Don't get discouraged if you apply for jobs in your field and you aren't hired right away. Just keep at it. Really just keep working to build your resume, to make those connections, and you can find something. There is work out there for good people who are knowledgeable and engaged and are passionate about, different fields in the natural resources field. And when you find a great job, just as Mia said, sometimes it takes a lot of time to move up. Don't necessarily think that you're going to be managing people and projects from the get-go. If you're just starting out, this is a great opportunity for you to learn from the ground up. So, take the opportunity to build up your knowledge base and develop credibility within your field, and you'll get more and more responsibility, and that'll come to you over time. And don't just focus on one area. Strengthen your communication skills, your writing skills. Don't just focus on the science aspects of it. We need well-rounded people who can communicate about issues or communicate technical information, who can write well, so that people understand the message that we're trying to convey. And so we like to see well-rounded individuals, not just people who are strong in one area like science. So build up as many skills as you can.
Okay, and last but not least, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Well, there are always going to be obstacles. You might think, oh, if I could just get a job, at a certain place and everything will be okay. Once you get that job, remember that you need to, there's always going to be obstacles and there's always going to be challenges, but you can overcome them. Just focus on growing your abilities and capabilities, learning. Always stay as engaged as you possibly can, and don't get discouraged. Just keep focused and keep working hard at it, and you'll get where you need to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. I think that we are just about out of time. So this was perfect timing today. I just want to quickly remind everyone that next week, same time, same place, we are going to have 2 more women to highlight. We will have Tara, who's with our real estate and land management office. She's an administrator there and helps with acquiring properties such as the AEP land, if you may have heard of that recent purchase. And then we're going to have Sergeant Sarah Gensman, who is with our Division of Parks and Watercraft, and she's a natural resource officer and helps keep our parks and forests safe. So I can't wait to hear from them next week, 10 a.m. on Wednesday. But also we have a second series during the month of August, which is Ohio's Wild and Scenic Rivers. So tomorrow I'll be joined by Heather Doherty from our Scenic Rivers program, and she's going to be talking about the role of a river. So did you know that we have in Ohio the oldest Scenic Rivers program in the country? That's pretty cool. So Heather's going to talk about that, what makes a river scenic, and why some aren't considered scenic. So stay tuned. Getting out and creeking has been I think a family favorite activity for decades. So Heather's gonna just put that into a little bit more perspective for everybody. But thanks again to our friends today, and we will see you next time. Bye.